Hello, good evening, and welcome. Finding your why of D&I. And why is it relevant to you as an individual and to your organization? And that's what I'm going to answer this evening. Is that okay? We'll come to the right place. Excellent. So I'm going to present my slides like this so you'll be able to see me and my slides transparently. But before we crack on, I want you to just work yourself. So if you wouldn't mind just grabbing your phones, and if you've got an iPhone or Android, I believe you can just fire the camera app up and you can scan, take a picture, look like you're taking a picture of the QR code, and it will allow you to sort of open a web page. And that will be the web page where from here, we're going to do this quiz. Okay, so it should look something like that. So I can see people connecting. We've got 7, 8, 9, 10 connecting. I'll let it get above 15, maybe 20, and then we'll start. Okay, we obviously don't want to wait all evening for everyone to connect, but we're doing well. We've got 13. Any more for any more? Give it a few more seconds. If you've got the QR code, if you're struggling, you can also key in ahaslides.com/I am Inc. I am inclusive. I am Inc. If you find that easy to do it in a browser on your PC or something else. Okay. So we've got 15 now. So I'm going to go push on and give you the slides. So here we go. So here is the quiz. Just a bit of fun. I'm going to ask you about 4 or 5 questions, and you've got 45 seconds to answer each one. There's no prizes. It's completely anonymous, and it's just a bit of fun. Okay. So I'm going to pop that bigger so you can see it on the screen easier. So I'll be ready. So each question, 45 seconds. Here we go. So what do you see as the main barrier or barriers to be more diverse and inclusive in your own organizations or where you work? So is it lack of awareness? Is it the cost of change? Knowing where to start? Finding resources to help? Or it's just not a priority right now? What would you see the main barriers? Okay, I can see you've got some answers here. We've got 20 seconds to go, so we've still got time. So I can see that blue currently is in the lead. Blue, lack of awareness. Okay, which is good. Well, it's not good, obviously, but that's why I'm here tonight. It's one of the reasons we're having these sessions, is to create more awareness. Okay, that's stopped. And 4.3, knowing where to start. Again, one of the reasons I'm here talking tonight is to talk about how to start and create more awareness. And then when we have 2.8, finding resources, so obviously find it easy to find people to help you. Not a priority, low on that's good. And cost of change. So cost isn't the barrier and resources aren't the barrier. Really looking at lack of awareness and knowing where to start. Great. Okay, let's move on to the next question. So what do you feel will have the greatest impact on developing your thinking? So more awareness, customer demand, reacting to problems, Equality Act, being sued, employment tribunals, or is training key? Or do you think the societal pressure, your customers, the world is evolving? What do you think are the biggest drivers here? So we've got 15 seconds to go. Currently, we're looking at 5.4 is more awareness. That backs up the previous slide, lack of awareness. 4.1, reacting to problems. 4.3, training. So training is high. But by far, the highest is about creating awareness, training, reacting to problems, and societal pressure. So we have to recognize that there is a professional society. D&I is becoming a thing that we're all recognizing. Okay, so why should you think more diversely and more inclusively? It's the right thing to do. It makes good financial sense. It creates increased opportunities. Makes you more relevant in your market. Or is it pressure from customers? Why should you do this? What's your why of D&I? Okay, so currently everybody is pointing that it's the right thing to do as the number one reason. And I completely understand that. At 5.4, increased opportunities to find staff in the hiring process. 3.8, the pink, makes you more relevant to the market. And we've got 2.1, so pressure from customers. So you're not feeling a lot of pressure from your customers at this point. Okay, that's interesting. So what do you think are the key attributes of an effective business leader? Is it authority? Is it listening, motivating, inclusion, being inclusive? Or is it their vision or their passion? What do you think are the most effective attributes of a leader? Okay, listening is coming out on top early on. 15 seconds to go. Passion, yeah, we're all seeing passion as high, which is interesting, yeah. Motivating, yeah, I think that's a great sign of a leader. Vision. And not surprisingly, it's not about how loud you are, how authoritarian you are. We don't value those attributes, maybe as we once did. Leaders of the past already had that command and control as a leader. So we're already seeing now that that's not seen as a valuable asset for a great leader. So that's all from that poll. As I say, it's a bit of fun. At the end of the session, you'll get a copy of the recording or a link to the recording of this. You'll also get a copy of the slides, and I'll give you a PDF of these poll results as well. So you'll get all of this, but feel free to take screenshots, tweet, or whatever else you'd like to do. Right, back to these slides. Okay, so what is your why of D&I? You've already said it's the moral case, it's the right thing to do. And we know it is, because I want to be treated with dignity and respect. I'm sure you do. I want to have opportunities to succeed, and I'm sure you do. So we know the human factor exists. But I'd also maintain there is also the business case. In order to make change pervasive, in order to make change stick, there has to be something in it for the business as well. So it's a combination of the right thing to do, knowing it's the right thing to do, but also valuing it from the business perspective. Because if it just costs money, doesn't have any tangible returns, it won't be sustainable. It'll be seen as an overhead or a drain on the business. And I'd like to think that through some of the things I'm going to talk to you about tonight, we can start to think about the business case and how it can affect positively our bottom line and our relevance. Is that okay? So the human factor. Who aren't we considering? Who doesn't have a voice? Are we relying on our affinity bias? Is it just people like me, people like us, who are heard, the usual suspects? We've created this monoculture, and we keep propagating that for years and years because it works. I mean, if you're in business and you work for an organization that's been working for many, many years, it works. You haven't needed to think about diversity and inclusion in the past. It's made up of people who are very similar backgrounds. It's made up from people who come from maybe of the same degrees. Maybe it's led by men, maybe white men, and you haven't felt any need to change that. So we've got to think about who doesn't have a voice in the organization. And this is part of that human factor about the moral case. We're not creating opportunities. So I always like to think back to the basic principles, and you may have heard of FREEDA. It stands for fairness, respect, equality or equity, dignity, and autonomy. So people, when we talk about autonomy, people have choice, freedom of choice. I can control my destiny. I select something, I have an opportunity to grab it. So when we think about being inclusive, when we think about creating opportunities, always think, am I being fair? When I'm talking to somebody, when I'm giving my opinion, is that fair? Am I being respectful? Am I creating equitable opportunities for people to succeed in the organizations? Am I favoring others and the playing field isn't level? So this is what I personally expect from the world, from society, from organizations. Just basic fairness, basic respect. Equity, so I know the playing field is level and I stand a fair chance of scoring a goal. And of course, I want to be treated with dignity. I don't want to feel harassed, bullied, or anything else. And I want to be able to choose my next opportunity. I want to be able to choose and know that I have a chance to succeed. We haven't got to include everybody. So some people get constrained by thinking, well, inclusion means everybody has to be included. It doesn't. We can't hire everybody. We can't talk to every single customer. Not all products work for everybody. But we always apply the freedom principles. Is it fair? If I can't offer someone a job or a role in our organization, have I done it fairly, respectfully? Have I made sure I haven't used bias, excluded them, and created an inequitable, no-win scenario for them? So always think back to the freedom principles, and I'll talk about that more as we go through. So going back to the human factor again, I always say that inclusion is how you make me feel by how you treat me. If you treat me in this way, I will feel included. If you treat me in this way, I may feel excluded or tolerated. And what a horrible word that is, tolerate. Barely put up with me. You really don't want me here, but because you have to, you put up with me. So tolerate, horrible word. Don't use it, please. And don't make people feel tolerated. Think about how you treat me. You can embrace me. The build-up Stephen gave me in the beginning really built me up. And of course, now I want to deliver a fantastic talk and make sure I really engage with you, because I felt really included. I felt really motivated at the beginning. If I'd have got a lackluster, hi, here's Joanne, she's okay, go Joe, how would I feel? Tolerated? I certainly wouldn't have felt embraced and celebrated. So think about how you make people feel by how you treat them. Inclusion is also holistic, active, and deliberate. I don't believe we can be a bit inclusive. We can't be a bit pregnant or a bit of a virgin. I don't think we can be a bit inclusive. Inclusion is for all. Who isn't good enough to pass your test? Who judges who? So think about holistic inclusion, making sure that we are anti-racist, anti-homophobic, anti-sexist, anti-ableist, anti-Islamophobic, anti-Semitic. So we've got to make sure we're really passionate about creating inclusive spaces for all, not just this month is Black History, next month is Pride, next month is Disability Awareness, month after that is mental health. We can't pick and choose and be tokenistic. We need to think about holistic. Active and deliberate. I want people to be thinking about this, not just in HR, but think of it as a cross-directorate initiative where we're thinking about it for marketing, we're thinking about it in hiring, we're thinking about it in our product design, in our customer service, all of our interactions. And we do it with some deliberation. We make sure we really are thinking about it, embedding it into our culture. Not saying my door's always open, or yeah, we're an equal opportunity employer, or I don't see color, I don't see race, I don't see it. Everybody's welcome here. Everyone is no one. I want to say, Joe, this role is right up your street. I've looked at your profile, I've looked on LinkedIn, and I think you'd be fantastic for it. Or when we're doing performance appraisals, when we're doing work allocations, we think about our team in an active way, in a person-centric way, and not just giving it to the first person we think about. We've got to overcome a lot of the biases we use on a day-to-day basis. So the foundations, your diversity and inclusion ethos, strategy, playbook, whatever you call it, should be built on the foundations of your corporate, your company, your vision, mission, and values. What do you stand for? What's your brand? What's your vision for inclusion? What's your why? Because if you can't truly understand why it matters to you as an individual, but also to you as an organization, why does being more inclusive, creating a diverse workforce matter? What are the values you live by? So you have to really think about this fundamentally first. You can't just go to the end, start hiring. Think, if I hire more diversely, if I hire different people, that will fix my problem. You need to align all the way through the business. Marketing, talent acquisition, branding, who you are, your sales force, product design, customer service, all different touch points in your business need to be aligned. Otherwise, what you find is you hire the wrong people, your marketing doesn't think inclusively, the imagery on your website, whatever it may be, you lack that alignment. And what we should be looking for is that all the way through, the threads have inclusion at their core. So think about the brand. Who are we? What do we stand for? You may have seen that Lego just brought out an LGBT Lego set. That shows that they are inclusive for all, well, certainly for LGBTQ plus people. They're willing to put their brand reputation on the line. We stand for LGBTQ plus inclusion. So much so, we're going to engineer an entire product and go to market on a global basis. That is who they are, because that's their values, their mission. They drive that. They're active and deliberate about that because they have LGBTQ plus staff who work for them. So it's showing that alignment with their brand, their externalness, against their internal values as well. The staff have faith that they are aligned end to end. So who are we? What do we stand for? Are we authentic? So think about your ethos. There is no one size fits all. I can't give you a D&I strategy or playbook. You can't download one, just search and replace your company name. It's your people, your vision, and your mission that you're trying to align with who you are and what you stand for. Yes, I can give you some touch points. Yes, I can talk to you about why. Yes, I can give you training. But fundamentally, it comes down to your own passion. And it has to start at the top. If you haven't got your chairman, your CEO, whoever it may be, who drives the organization, if they're not behind this, if they're not the sponsor, if they're not championing it, behind the vision and mission, I'm not saying it'll fail, but it won't be as successful. So it's really important that it's owned from the top and communicated to all. So why does it matter? Let's think about some of the business case. Why does it really matter? So it's about able to adapt, maintain relevance to customers, clients, stakeholders. In the same way that Lego realized that the market is demanding more inclusion, holistic inclusion for all. You can't just produce, like Barbie has, new Barbie dolls who are wheelchair users. Okay, yes, it shows inclusion for people with a disability. Yes, there are now black Barbie dolls. Yes, there are now Barbie dolls with different waist sizes. So they're thinking about more inclusivity. But it's not just about one characteristic. We've got to think about this holistically and to maintain relevance to our customers. Look at popular brands, the Arcadia Group, Mothercare, Blockbuster Video. All of these organizations missed the boat when it came to innovation, when it came to staying on top of the market. You could argue that they didn't have a diverse board of directors. They didn't have a diverse group of people thinking about the future. So they failed to remain relevant. So will you remain relevant? Do you have lots of different thinking going on that understands the younger generation, people from marginalized communities? Do they understand disability accessibility? Are you thinking about all these different needs? Or are you just thinking about the white, straight, able-bodied person all the time? So we've got to be relevant. Got to watch where the world's going. Sustainability. We're anti-plastic. We're thinking about the world. We're thinking about sustainable planets. Eco. We start thinking about being relevant to our customers, and inclusion is part of that as well. So there is this return, ROI, return on inclusion. So client retention, we're relevant, we stay relevant. Creating new opportunities in product design, different markets, different areas. We empower our people. We're able to expand into a broader range of talent, hiring from different parts of the country. Maybe now we can work remotely, maybe we can work in a different way, more flexibly. We can hire people in different ways. We empower our people. We inspire them with passion and purpose, so they're aligned with the organization. Of course, staying relevant into the market. All of these things contribute to a positive bottom line. If you don't know the empty chair or the empty seat cost of your organization, think about the rehire cost. Someone resigns, what does it cost to recruit a replacement? What's the disruption in training and onboarding that and bringing that person up to speed. They could be coming up to speed for 3 or 4 months. The previous person may have left, leaving a hole, leaving a gap. So you could have lost productivity for 6 months in some hiring situations. So imagine if you could increase the tenure of employees by 6 months, by a year, by 2 years. Just think of that rehire cost that you'll save. Think of the empty chair cost that you'll save. Just in that one transaction, keeping people in your organization longer, making them feel more empowered, you will save money positively, which pays for most D&I initiatives. So you want to attract and also retain the best people from the widest pool possible, because we want this diversity of thought. We want these ideas coming to give us that market opportunity to spot where things are going wrong. We need to think about how we can engage in our customers and stakeholders in different ways. Again, a diverse group of people working towards the passion and the mission and vision of an organization can spot how we can treat customers differently. And if you've not read the book, Matthew Syed wrote a book called Black Box Thinking. And that's all around empowering people, creating this culture of helping people, whistleblowing, exposing problems. And that's done right at the point of contact with customers. Transform the airline industry from an industry where accidents and crashes were happening all the time to now people really engaged. So you can really support organizations that empower their people to make decisions at the point of customer delivery, at the point of design, et cetera, et cetera. So think about how you can empower and engage with people. We talked about it at the beginning in the quiz, inclusive leadership. Inclusive leadership is critically important, and we as business leaders should exemplify best practice in the way we build our businesses. We have to walk the talk. We can't be inauthentic. We can't say one thing, do another. So being an inclusive leader is critical, and that's got to be really part of the mission. So when we think about an inclusive leader is someone who has really strong self-awareness. I know who I am. I know my style. I know what matters to me. But I also know that my people, my team, think differently. I know that they want to be managed, motivated, communicated to in completely different ways. There is no one size fits all. So in order to create an equitable, respectful and fair opportunity for my team, I need to think about individuals. And that's the power of an inclusive leader, to think about individuals and how we motivate and communicate individually. So knowing that by being aware of inclusion, it will lead to better business. You'll be doing better business with better clients and also inevitably more business. So I implore you to empower passion, purpose to your mission throughout the organization and communicate that. And I'm sure most of you are doing that already, but are you asking, how do you measure that? So I'm always passionate about communication, about adapting the way we speak and write to be understood. In this world where we are now with COVID, we know a lot of us are working remotely. Some of us may be in the office, some of us maybe we're field-based, working from our car. How do we communicate effectively and be understood? Because if I'm not checking that I'm understood, I'm not adapting my style, I may be miscommunicating my message. But the important thing is listening. And a great leader listens. They listen, they listen, they listen. And there's a phrase I love, which is strong opinions, weakly held. Strong opinion, yes, I know my mind. Yes, I know my passion. I know my style as a leader. But I hold those weakly. I'm prepared to prove myself wrong. In fact, not only prepared, I start by believing I'm wrong and looking to find out if I could be right. How often do we as leaders walk into a room and say, here's the problem. This is what I think. Anybody got any ideas? And of course, we've already created that groupthink. We've already seeded the idea into the people's heads. But what we really need to start thinking about as inclusive leaders is to engage in creative doubt, active and deliberate listening, making time. Get used to challenging yourself. Why do I think that? Am I wrong? because confirmation bias is extremely powerful. We look for the answers we agree with. We latch onto people who think like us and agree with them. The first Google search we do, we spot it and it says, oh, that's exactly what I thought. See, I'm right. How often do we read every other option to find out if we're wrong? Start hanging around with people who are different to you and have different ideas and different thoughts. And we don't have to agree with everybody. But what I can do is understand your perspective. Because perspective is everything. So think about the equation. An event, E plus R equals O. An event occurs. I react. And that leads to an outcome. But the key element of that equation is the plus. The plus is my perspective. The way I see something, the way you see something is different. We have our own biases, we have our own lived experience, we have our own history, where we're brought up, our faith, our ethnicity, whatever it may be. We don't all think the same, we don't all act the same, we don't all dress the same, because we're different. And our perspectives differ as well. So what we need to try and do is find the shared truth by engaging in creative doubt, by questioning, what am I wrong? Persuade me that I could be right, rather than the other way around, persuade me that I'm wrong. Because if I show you a disc or a ball that's white on one side and black on the other, if I show it to you like this, you'll say it's black, I'll say it's white. Who's right? It's only when we step back or ask somebody else that we find the shared truth. So often there's my truth, there's your truth, and the shared truth. And the more truths, the more perspectives we bring in to our decision-making process, the closer we are to finding the ideal. Limited amount of perspectives create limited thinking, create limited opportunities, which is why a diverse group of people, treated inclusively, communicated inclusively, can bring the power of that difference to create greater perspectives or greater shared truth. And we've got to think about, do we often speak through our own privileged lens? Yeah, as a man, as a white person, as a straight person, are we thinking about our own privileged lens? How often do we hear people go, oh, come on? How often do we look at the ruling class, whatever that may be, people who are maybe considered privileged in society, and considered they're out of touch? It's been said that privilege is disinhibiting. People with privilege are disinhibited from the world. They treat the world as their own. They carry on as they see fit. Their opinions are often not even checked. But having a lack of privilege is inhibiting. People from underrepresented communities, people who feel marginalized, don't feel that they have the ability to challenge, progress, speak up. Limiting beliefs occur, imposter syndrome, and people just disengage because they feel they have no opportunity. So think about the lens we speak through, the privilege, and how it biases and affects our own perspective of the world. And in terms, think about communication, think about listening, we've also got to think about our language. We've got to be mindful of how our choice of language, choice of words have impact. Impact that goes beyond our original intent. I didn't mean to upset you. It was only a joke, a bit of banter, a bit of fun. Oh, come on, don't be a snowflake. Oh, you're just so woke. Oh, I can't say anything anymore without upsetting people. Because sometimes through our own privileged lens, our own perspective, our own echo chamber, we get so used to talking and treating people in a certain way. We forget the impact. That impact is often microaggressions, those little mosquito bites that people get all the time. Nip, 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 undermines their credibility, limits their beliefs, drags them down and drains them. So thinking about the impact of that intent. And that's where it's critically important to be accountable. Accountable for the language we use, accountable for the words we choose, and understanding our own footprint in the world and how that impacts others. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. That wasn't my intent. Could I try that again? Or how can I say that next time help me understand where I went wrong. Of course, we don't always get it right. Our plan A isn't always working, but our plan B should be accountable. Check our impact and ask how we can get it better next time. One size certainly doesn't fit all in motivation. We've learned that over the last 14, 15 months. We knew about this already. We knew that remuneration, money doesn't motivate. We know that I think the pay rise lasts a month at best in many people's motivations. We're now really valuing our work-life balance, our flexibility, new opportunities. But many people also want that stability in their life. So when we went into lockdown, when we went into this world 14, 15 months ago, we did it quickly. We just rushed. We made it happen. All of those years we've been saying, no, we can't. No, we can't. Suddenly we can. And change happened quickly. So now we have time to plan where we go next. How do we bring people back together? There are many people that have never even met each other. Many people who've been onboarded, interviewed, hired, whatever, all the way through pandemic and never actually been to the office, never met anybody. Many people have been out of the office now for 15 months. They want re-onboarding because the world of work has evolved, has changed. You may have even changed the way your office works. You create agile workspaces, more drop-ins. Maybe you've got a policy where you don't require everybody to be in the office all the time. Maybe you've already allowed people to work agilely, pick their own hours, be more flexible, communicate via Slack or Teams or whatever it may be to create asynchronous environments. So we've got to think about how we bring people back together. And we can't assume that one size fits all. People will have anxieties. Some people the office works for. We've also found out that some people it doesn't. Some people are far more productive. So how do we balance that? How do we think about keeping that motivation? Because if we blow this, people will walk. You've probably seen it on LinkedIn, lots of posts. You've probably seen it in the press about culture. If you abandon the culture you've developed right now, people will walk. People will walk. How do you hang on to these people? How do you make sure you value the best of both worlds? Listen, communicate, be that inclusive leader. So we need to acknowledge our biases. Biases are unintentional people preferences formed by our socialization, our experiences, our privilege, our perspectives. And let's not underestimate the power of the media, the Disney model of gender, Snow White, Prince Charming. Oh, eating the apple. I'll save the day, slay the dragon, cut the brambles down, kiss you right off into the sunset. Still sets a lot of the gender expectations, how Black people are portrayed, how people with disability are portrayed. So we've got to be really conscious and think about conscious inclusion, be active, holistic and deliberate, and not try and remove our biases, because we can't remove our biases. What we can do is mitigate by challenging ourselves. Strong opinions weakly held. Why do I think that? Am I being fair? Has that person had the same opportunity as everybody else? Really focus on this. Be deliberate. Sometimes you need to press pause, stop, step back, think, and be mindful. So we can mitigate biases in recruitment. We can blind CV, we can use tech, AI, various methods. We need to think about how we can minimize our biases in recruitment process, and also the candidate experience, the journey. We know that people who are from underrepresented communities, minority backgrounds, often bumped out of the process because they don't feel confident, they don't feel loved, they don't feel included in the process. Is it inclusive for people with different abilities? Think about performance management. Are we giving people fair gradings? Or are we giving the people like us the advantages? Have we stopped and looked across the organization and analyzed the performance management stats and grades by demographic? In fact, are we even collecting demographics on our staff? And you as a leader, think about work allocation. Does the same people get the tasks? Oh, because it's easier, because they're going to be better at it. And what about the people who are learning? What about the people that feel kind of miffed they never get the opportunity? And what about the people who get all of the work and going, hang on a minute, why am I getting everything? Can't we share? So think about how we allocate tasks, and are we using bias to lean towards certain people and favor them? And of course, challenging conversations. Sometimes it's easier having a conversation with someone you like and know and have a conversation with. And sometimes that's harder. But do we walk away from people who are different to us for fear of upsetting them, for fear of getting it wrong? Can we truly engage in the conversation that we need to have? So I can't give you all the answers here today, but think about how you can mitigate biases just in these 4 areas. So what I want you to do is be a change maker. Exemplify best practice, whether you're in HR, whether you're a business leader, whether you're exemplifying best practice as yourself, because we all lead ourselves. We don't have to be a leader of people. We can be a leader of self. So we have to have our own standards, our own passions, our own red lines. What matters to me? What's my own personal brand? What do I stand for? So I want to exemplify best practice about being holistic, active, and deliberate, challenging the way I think. So strive for excellence, amplify others. Key element of being an ally is picking up the strain of someone from an underrepresented or marginalized community as if it was your own. But we have to recognize that we have privilege. We can't put that strain down when it gets heavy. A person who's black, a person who's gay, can't stop being gay or black because it doesn't suit them for half an hour. So we need to be very active and deliberate to hold that strain, carry that load as if it was our own. Create spotlights, create space, amplify people, ensure voices are heard. And of course, very importantly, we must root out toxicity. Make sure that the language, the culture of an organization is such and fit that you can bring people in. Because if you don't clean the tank, if you just bring in new fish, they will die, or they'll get absorbed and socialized into the toxic culture. So really important, clean the tank first without hiring into it. Fix the culture. Hiring doesn't fix anything. It just kills more fish. Costs you a lot of money. So you can act now. Action changes things. What are you going to do as a result of this talk I've given? Is it interesting? Are you going to walk away and go, wow, that was interesting? Fine. But what action, what change, and what things can you make tomorrow? What can you do next week? What can you do next year? What does your vision for D&I inclusion look like? What does amazing look like? Not just okay. What does amazing look like? What can you do? What resources do you need? What training do you need? What help do you need? So how can you act? Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.